Alrighty, everyone. Our usual preamble is going to sound a little different because I ran it through ChatGPT. So here goes. Hello and welcome to the Worldwide Pride Net, also known as the Pride Radio Group Net. I'm Kimberly Kilo Juliet 7 Oscar Mike Oscar is my call sign. I'm your net control operator. My pronouns are she, her. This net is a roundtable for general discussions and friendly chats. Please direct all calls through the net control station. We meet every Sunday at 0200 Coordinated Universal Time. Before we begin, is there any emergency or priority traffic? If there is an emergency at any time, please say break, break, and we will assist you promptly. This net provides a safe place for members of the LGBTQIA community and their allies to connect over the airwaves. It is open to all licensed amateur radio operators without the need for membership. We also welcome third-party traffic. Speaking of memberships, the Pride Radio Group fosters an inclusive environment for learning, experimenting, and enjoying radio communications. We encourage, promote, and support diversity within the wider radio community. We share our experiences and knowledge, celebrate Pride on the air, and welcome all individuals. To learn more about the Pride Radio Group, join us and gain access to our Discord chat room. Visit prideradio.group, that is prideradio.group, or check out Victor Kilo 3 Papa Romeo Golf or Kilo 3 Papa Romeo Golf on QRZ. Membership is free and all are welcome, regardless of who you are and who you love. Unless you harbor hatred towards us, of course. Okay, this ChatGPT generated script does sound quite interesting. Hi, hi. This net is being relayed on the Pride Radio Network and its affiliated systems, including All-Star, Echolink, IRLP, DMR, YSF Reflector, WiresX, M17, NXDN, P25, D-Star, and Zello. It is also streamed live on Broadcastify and my YouTube channel, searchable by my call sign Kilo Juliet 7 Oscar Mike Oscar. For more information on how to connect to this network or access our live streams, visit prideradionetwork.com. That is prideradionetwork.com. You can also track and follow this net by downloading NetLogger for Windows, Linux, or macOS from netlogger.org. That is netlogger.org. NetLogger allows you to log into the net, view real-time call signs, and actively participate. For Android and iPhone users, you may download On Air Net Scraper instead. That is On Air Net Scraper. Now, before we start tonight's net, does anyone have news, announcements, or other items to share with the net and the Pride Radio Group? Alright, let's move on to check-ins for the Worldwide Pride Net, also known as the Pride Radio Group Net. We'll begin with mobile stations, those short on time, and those who plan to participate briefly. If you fall into any of these categories, please come forward with your call sign slowly, twice, and phonetically. Feel free to share your pronouns as well. This is Kilo Juliet 7 Oscar Mike Oscar standing by for check-ins for mobile, time-constrained, and brief stations. wow, hey, this ChatGPT generated script, it does throw me for a loop. Hi. Alright, hearing no response, we now take check-ins from anyone, anywhere. If you'd like to join the Worldwide Pride Net, also known as the Pride Radio Group Net, please provide your call sign slowly, twice, and phonetically. You may also share your pronouns if you wish.
Victor Kilo 3, Juliet Echo Delta.
Alrighty, we have Victor Kilo 3, Juliet Echo Delta. Who else is out there wishing to check in?
N3 VEM, he, him.
Alright, N3 VEM got you down. Who else is out there wishing to check in? I'm telling you, this ChatGPT generated script does throw me for a freaking loop. I'm not gonna lie. It throws me for a freaking loop. Alrighty, do we have any additional check-ins to the net before we get started? I know there's more folks out there besides the three of us. Kilo Juliet 7, Oscar Mike Oscar standing by for any more check-ins to the net. Wowee! Wow, just the three of us. Wow. Okay, we're going to be shaking that tree in just a moment. But first, we'll toss it right up to VK3JED from KJ7OMO. And folks, if you're not able to check in via voice, or then you may, then there are other ways you can check in. You can check in via, let's see, you can check in via Discord, NetLogger. You can also check in via, WinLink. WinLink is also a good way to check in, and you can also send me an email. I'm good on QRZ. And if you don't have your ham radio license and you wish to participate, well, your only options is via third-party traffic from either Discord or send me an email. And oh yeah, for everybody, I forgot to list this additional option. You can also check in via the YouTube live stream. I'll be monitoring that as well. All right, we're gonna toss it. And by the way, those without a ham radio license, I highly encourage you to study for your license and do your exams and, of course, get that ham radio ticket. All right, VK3JED from KJ7OMO. We'll toss it over to you.
Yeah, g'day Kimberly and everyone else. And coming to you again on M17. I found out what the problem last week was, why it kept dropping out and doing other strange noises. Turns out I was under deviating by about 25%. I had 3/4 of the deviation I should have had, so a quick tweak and everything's working well. Can't do much about the background noise. Not sure where that's coming from. Somewhere in the mic audio system, it seems. Not coming on receive, but at least I'm not getting the dropouts and the chirping and all of the lost data information. I can hear myself coming back at low level on the analogue too. So, M17 revisited and properly aligned. So, for those that weren't here last week, or those that couldn't hear me last week, I'm running an MMDVM modem board with the M17 client, written by G4KLX, like all the other MMDVM software. That takes the mic audio and encodes it and generates baseband, and the output of the MMDVM modem is then fed to the ST818 running in 9600 mode, 9600 packet mode that is, and then it's transmitting to the hotspot at the other end of the house, which has M17 gateway and all the usual other M17 bits and pieces, or MMDVM bits and pieces. It can do all the modes, but only M17 is permanently enabled. The other ones are on demand. I can use them. So that's what's happening, and I'm a bit earlier today because I didn't go down to the track. They're going a bit later, and that didn't suit me. I'm heading out probably around 1 o'clock myself. By which point, I could come up on All-Star, I suppose. I'll see how I go. Or I might just drop the net. We'll see how we go. Anyway, KJ7RMO with the group VK3JD.
Alrighty, VK3JED from KJ7OMO returning. Well, you don't sound too bad. You're just barely readable, but 100% readable nonetheless. At least on analog. On the digital side, you're a bit more muffled on coming through Fusion, but I can still copy at least much of what you're saying on that system. I noticed that the codec, it kind of doesn't do too well with the high frequency audio stuff, but the lows are coming in. It kind of sounds a little tiny bit warbly, and I do hear the background squealing, but other than that, it's doing an okay job making it into the network. So yeah, I was able to copy 100% of what you were saying, via my headset, anyways. We're gonna move on to N3VEM from KJ7OMO. Take it away.
Okay, yeah, thanks for running the net again as usual, and VK3JED, yeah, same. So I'm on via an All-Star node, so yeah, I can, just like Kimberly said, I can hear you, I can copy you, I can hear the noise you talked about, but you're making it in and good enough to hear what you're saying in chat. So I guess at the end of the day, that's what matters. And yeah, the M17 stuff, every time I hear people talk about it and I read about it a little bit, I think, oh, that'd be fun to play around with, and I just haven't made the plunge yet just because I've got so many projects going on, and I kind of debate if I want to, do I want to do one of the little hotspot type things, or I'm kind of fascinated too by the idea of getting one of the MD380 type radios and reflashing them and, maybe setting up a little hotspot then. But yeah, right now it's on the projects I think are cool, but I haven't started yet list. So yeah, what's been keeping me busy the last couple days anyway is I've started designing a third version of the Radio Rocket. So our version 2 we've launched a couple times now, and I had some ideas for version 3, basically ways to make it more compact and smaller and lighter and therefore faster and higher. But it involves potentially some custom circuit board design, which should be, in theory, pretty basic, but I've never done it. So yesterday and today I've taken my first foray into dabbling around in KiCad. So learning how to use KiCad has been keeping me busy for the last couple of days. So that's kind of the scoop from this end, other than earlier this evening I was sitting, made a few field day contacts, and might do some more later on tonight. We'll see how much energy I have into the evening, but if I had to guess, that's probably where most of the crowd is tonight. At least the U.S. crowd is probably tied up with field day stuff. Back to you, Kimberly. This is N3 VEM.
Alrighty, well that rocket stuff sounds pretty cool, and hopefully you'll get that radio rocket up higher and higher into the wild blue yonder. Just make sure it doesn't explode in a catastrophic way and ruin the fun. And yeah, I myself have here lately I've been messing with FreeDV more on HF, and I managed to pull off one contact with my measly 10 watts. I don't know how I done it, but I somehow managed to contact someone from far away on 10 watts of FreeDV output. And it actually worked quite well, surprisingly. Yeah, the FreeDV uses the same audio codec as M17. It's really a fantastic mode. It's too bad that not enough people currently use it. But yeah, other than some QRP HF stuff, not much else going on really. Though to be honest, I do miss having 100 watts at my disposal. But it'll be a while before I can afford a 100 watt station. Anyways, we're at the bottom of the list, so let's see if we have anybody else out there wishing to check into the Worldwide Pride Net, also known as the Pride Radio Group Net. All I need from you are your call signs slowly, twice, and phonetically, and feel free to share your pronouns with us as well. This is Kilo Juliet 7, Oscar Mike Oscar, standing by for more check-ins to the net.
This is KC3 VIU, Kilo Charlie 3, Victor India Uniform, VB, in Pennsylvania.
Alrighty, KC3VIU, got you down. Who else is out there wishing to check in? Alrighty, do we have any additional check-ins before we toss it over to Phoebe? Alrighty, hearing nothing. As a reminder, you can also check in via the YouTube live stream, Discord, NetLogger, WinLink, and Mastodon. And if you're able to reach me on any other platform, go ahead and reach me there as well. And I'm also good on QRZ if you wish to check in via email instead. Alright, KC3VIU from KJ7OMO. We'll toss it over to you.
Hello, Kimberly and the rest of the net. KC3VIU, Phoebe here. I had a pretty good week after I got over some asthma problems as a result of long-term exposure to that Canadian smoke thing that was going on. And I'll just kind of glaze over it a bit, but I didn't end up going to Lancaster Pride, and it was absolutely amazing. I went there last year, but this time I had my friend Abigail with me, and the one that came up from Florida, so she and I went there and had a great time. I did my volunteering and walked around the place a bit. She was absolutely blown away by the fact that there was not a single protester there. And I'm like, yeah, I haven't been to a pride yet where there's been any protesters. So I guess it's a blessing to me and unfortunate for others. But yeah, things really went well. Made a new friend there, and we went out to dinner afterwards and really had a great time. And I'll get a little bit more into the radio stuff on my next time around. So I'll toss it back to Ned. This is KC3VIU, back to KJ7.
Alrighty, sorry about that. My mom came banging on the door and wanted to rag chew and at the same time give me stuff, and I was like, Mom, I'm a little bit busy right now. So, here I am back. Alrighty. Before we kick it back up to the top, did we had any additional check-ins? This is Kilo Juliet 7, Oscar Mike Oscar standing by. Alrighty, doesn't look like it. VK3JED, we'll toss it right back up to you, KJ7OMO.
Okay, Kimberly, and keeping the M17 going. I don't know how much of the audio issues there's the microphone, that could be a part of it too. I can't remember what this was like. Just a computer headset running through a USB sound device. That may be a bit non-optimal too. I have heard reports that the new Module 17, which is basically a similar to my setup, except in a more neat package that you connect to a radio. And I've heard some very good audio reports of that particular system. So, and I must try this with the native M17 stations. Unfortunately, a lot of the key players are asleep at the moment, so they're all at the big Handfest in Germany that's on this weekend, showing M17 to the world, and some of the latest developments, like the Module 17, which is the package modem, and the OpenHT, which is still in the early stages of development software-wise. I think the hardware is pretty set, but the software is under development. A very interesting looking HT, fully software-defined radio. Can run all modes, including SSB and 3DD, without any additional parts needed. Of course, M17 and capable of anything else that you can write the code for. And speaking of Free TV, congratulations on your Free TV contact. Yeah, when I get HF up, I will be setting Free TV up myself, and I want to play with that a bit. I think that's definitely very promising. So looks like, yeah, looks like TV's been busy, and good day to you, and thanks for coming up on Discord to allow me to fix the breaking all-starter Echolink link. And yeah, some lots of fun things happening around, and yeah, I have seen so many people talking about Field Day in the States, so yeah, probably quiet on that side of the world. KJ7 Almo with the group BK3JB.
VK3JED from KJ7OMO returning. I forgot what I was going to say, so we're going to toss it right over to N3VEM from KJ7OMO. Take it away, Vance.
Okay, well, yeah, I think every time I jump on the net with all of you, then I leave with like a list of homework assignments of things to dabble around with. So I now have a browser tab open to FreeDV. I think I heard some folks talk about FreeDV a while ago, but I haven't heard much about it. And yeah, skimming through the page, it looks fairly straightforward-ish. Download the software. My setup here, I'm already. The rig is already connected to the computer with, sound card. Well, the sound card modem thing is built into my radio. So it looks like all I'd have to do is download the software and set up settings. So I might have to dabble around with that and give it a go a little bit too. It sounds interesting. And yeah, KC3VIU mentioned the smoke from the wildfires a couple weeks ago. Yeah, that got wild in our area for sure. The day that it was worst, I think I might even stuck a picture on Mastodon. I don't remember, but yeah, normally when we look out our back we butt up against a farm, and normally when we look out our back windows, we can see the whole way across the cornfield to like the next road that's over on the other side of the farm, and we can see the little cars going by on the road. And with that thick stuff from that smoke, we couldn't even see, I don't know, maybe 50 or 100 feet into the field. It was wild. So yeah, we spent a couple days kind of sealed up inside with the air purifiers running. Couple of the folks in my family here have sensitivity to allergies, so we already had air purifiers in the house, luckily. So we just kind of, as much as we hated to because of the weather, we just kept the windows closed and kind of weathered through that. And yeah, the Lancaster Pride event, I didn't make it out there this year either. I talked about going with our oldest, but we got busy. But yeah, the events in Lancaster are usually great. It's it's funny, like Lancaster City is, I don't know, it's, as far as like cities go, it's a great city. It's relatively liberal, and people are open and welcoming for the most part. There's some weird, what I would call weird stuff in Lancaster City, but yeah, events like that are usually well attended and go off without a hitch. So it's not a bad place. So glad to hear you guys made it out there and had some fun. So yeah, for now I'll kick it back to Net. This is N3VEM.
Here we go, test 1, 2. Alrighty, N3VEM from KJ7OMO returning. Yeah, copy that. Well, the thing I liked about the latest development release, not the regular release, but it's a development release. So basically, the latest beta of FreeDV is that they set up a QSO Finder website that interfaces with the program itself. So If you log into the web page, then you'll see a list of people with the free DV running, and you will actually see when they transmit, when they receive, and who they are receiving. It's a neat little system that they have set up. And it also tells you, where somebody on the band is. So it'll tell you what frequency they're listening on, and then you could just tune into that frequency and hope they can hear you. It's a really neat setup. It really is. Alrighty, we're going to toss it right over to KC3VIU from KJ7OMO. Take it away, Phoebe.
This is KC3VIU. Yeah, so one of the things I wanted to bring up is I have a very strange obsession with crystal radios and other AM radios and stuff like that. I'm not even sure I have an understanding of how deep it is, but I've just always been fascinated by it. I've built several. I have several like little kits and things. I have this one tube AM radio receiver that you feed it 1.5 volts for the filament and something I think like 22 volts for the grid and whatnot. But it's the thing of it is back in Pittsburgh there were plenty of stations, and in that era there were plenty of stations that would be awesome to listen to. But I can't seem to get it through my head anymore that basically, as much as I love the ability to receive distant stations on AM, and the radio stations used to be pretty good because they'd have like oldies and stuff like that, and they could actually receive decent signals, that without a bigger antenna, there's nothing here that a crystal radio or a low-power radio can receive. And it's just kind of frustrating. I keep finding myself browsing catalogs looking for more of these things. And then I go looking for AM transmitters, and it's like, ooh, I could transmit all my own stuff. And it's like, that'd be cool. And it's like, yeah, but you could do the same thing with Bluetooth. Why would you? And then I just get in my own head and like, be quiet. I'm going to do this. Cut off there. But real quick, I was in my car this past Wednesday or Thursday over lunch, and was yeah, it was Thursday. And sitting at work, I was able to, I was listening to a station, and all of a sudden I got this skip when I pulled in, and I kept trying to figure out what station it was. It was on a frequency that's, I'm not even sure exactly which one it was at this point. Oh, yes, I remember now. It was 95.7. And normally I can get a station out of Philadelphia, but for some reason I was getting this religious broadcasting thing. I couldn't figure out what it was, so I called up the little app I have for my phone. It's called FM Towers for the Apple platform. And I was looking and kind of this thing, which transmitter is running this kind of service. And most of them are low power. But I found out I was actually receiving a station from Marquette, Michigan. It's a 100 kilowatt transmitter, and I was getting it in New Holland, Pennsylvania. So, yeah, that was kind of interesting. I've gotten long skips before, but one time last summer I got a skip all the way from like Cocoa Beach, Florida, or something like that. Really interesting on a different frequency, but I just love these little skip things. I mean, you don't even have to be active retransmitting to get that kind of cool stuff. But, so, back to that. This is KC3VAU, back to KJ7, OMO.
Oh, KC3VIU from KJ7OMO returning. Yeah, copy that. That skip thing is amazing stuff. I don't know if it's tropospheric ducting or sporadic ebb that you were experiencing, but yeah, it is. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. Yeah, it is quite the interesting phenomenon that higher frequency transmissions that are closer to the 2-meter band would start propagating around like HF does. Quite interesting. And it does happen every now and then, where you receive not only FM stations, but
playing from Kimberly's
but TV stations are also have also been propagating as well. I remember back in the 90s when I was just a young little kid. I remember putting my television set into scan mode. I was in a little Texas town called Pampa, which was located in the panhandle of the state. And I remember, scanning around with the TV, and I started receiving low VHF and also high VHF stations, all from all the way in Las Vegas, Nevada. And back then, I just couldn't wrap my head around how I could receive stations from that far. But looking back at it now, it was definitely either tropo or sporadic E or some other phenomenon. It makes me wish I had a ham radio license back then, because I would have tried 2 meters out. But yeah, next time you experience... Hang on, let me reset. But yeah, next time you receive, stations from, broadcast stations from far away, on FM, give 2 meters a shot. You never know who you might contact. And if you have single sideband capability on your 2-meter rig, try using it. If not, then use whatever you've got and see what happens. All right, KC3VIU from KJ7OMO, take it away.
This is KC3VIU. I believe you just came back to me, Kimberly.
Yes, PB. I did send it back to you.
Okay, cool. This is KJ7. I'm sorry, KC2VIU. Oh my word. Yeah, I unfortunately do not have single sideband capabilities on that on my HT. But I will have to give that a try. I also have done some interesting experimentation and DXing with TV back in the analog days, and there was my parents live up on a hill here in Lancaster County, and the antenna that we got when we moved in, because we weren't really sure about cable TV, never had it before. We bought an antenna with 184-inch boom length on it. It was a beast. It was absolutely a beast. We could get stations out of New Jersey, stations up towards Allentown, but I don't think we got any actually in Allentown. But it was very easy to receive stations from Baltimore, and Harrisburg was obviously pretty easy because that wasn't all that distant. But the one time I was playing around with it, and I got a skip from a station all the way in, was it Ocean City, New Jersey, I think it was, or somewhere down that way, which was absolutely outrageous. I couldn't believe that I had managed to get that skip. It absolutely blew my mind. So, yeah, skips are just wicked wonderful. If anybody else out there is a fan of, I'll put a break in here. Of Gene Shepard. He mentioned in one of his radio programs about how they worked for a TV station or something, and they were at a bar or something across the street, and they called and said that they couldn't get the station, but they were getting something from, I think they were in Cincinnati or something, and they were getting a station from Kansas City, and they found out later that the station from Kansas City couldn't get their own stuff, but they were getting the stuff from Cincinnati. And I'm like, okay, mighty peculiar. But yeah, skips are just absolutely wild. One of the things I definitely kind of get off on is like that such things are possible. So at any rate, back to Net Control. This is KC3 VAU back to KJ7.
All right, KC3VIU from KJ7OMO returning. Yeah, copy that. Yeah, skip on the higher frequencies are really fun. And one of these days, if you have a CB, check out the skip on 38 lower sideband. It gets chaotic, and I do mean chaotic. And lots of people saying some things that you wouldn't you wouldn't be allowed to say over the airwaves. And 6 a.m. and also 11 a.m. are the same way. Lots of chaos, and the skip is really coming in really good. And 10 meters has also been propagating fairly good as well. And I heard reports that 6 meters was also doing exceptionally well. And I heard reports of 2 meters propagating very far, as of a few days ago. So yeah, the solar cycle is really starting to ramp up. And who knows what the sun will have in store for us at the very peak of its cycle. Anyways, we have an email check-in from November 7, November Whiskey Tango. Thank you so much for your check-in there. And 7-3, and I got your issue report with the D-Star reflector, and I've sent it over to VK3JED to check out the reflector. And as for Zello, if you remain connected to Zello, here shortly I'll give you the ability to transmit on the platform, but I can only do so if you remain connected to it. Anyways, Let's take some additional check-ins to the Worldwide Pride Net, also known as the Pride Radio Group Net. All I need are your call signs slowly, twice, and phonetically. And you may also give us your pronouns if you wish. This is Kilo Juliet 7, Oscar, Mike Oscar, standing by for any additional check-ins to the net.
Whiskey Bravo 0, Victor Hotel Foxtrot, WB0 VHF, Evelyn in Bloomington, Minnesota, she, her pronouns.
Yeah, got another one. All right. Finally, more people on the air. Alrighty, WB Whiskey Bravo 0, Victor Hotel Foxtrot, got you down. Who else is out there wishing to check in? Alright, well, I accidentally pulled my audio cable from my headset. Was there anybody else out there that wanted to check in? Already hearing nothing, we're gonna toss it right back up to the top of the list. Not up to the top. Sorry. What the heck am I thinking? We're gonna toss it over to WB0 VHF from KJ7 OMO. Take it away.
Okay, well, sorry about getting in a little late here. I've been listening for a little while here, but certainly missed the first part of the net. Been a long day. Headed down to a place in the Minneapolis called Loring Park, which has been the traditional home for Twin Cities Pride for a number of years. We're just about outgrowing it. It's a large place, and we're definitely outgrowing it. But I spent the whole day down there with Pride activities and such. Had a grand day. I did not make it over to see the First Lady, though she was there for a while. And finally got home and just kind of getting things going here. Had a wonderful time. I was representing one group at a booth, saw some other friends, got some music from some friends. They were performing, and yeah, grand old day. No radio involved with any of that, at least on my part, but it was a wonderful way to spend the day, and I'll be doing some more of that tomorrow. We have our parade in the morning, and then more time at the park in the afternoon to maybe catch some more booths and such there. We'll see. That's where we're at so far. Again, this is Evelyn in Bloomington, Minnesota, WB0 VHF.
Alrighty, that is some good stuff there. WB0 VHF from KJ7 OMO returning. Yeah, that sounds really awesome. Any kind of Pride event sounds awesome. As long as it's the good kind and not the kind of Pride event that fosters hate against us. But, yeah, really good that our community is out there and showing their pride. Perhaps maybe that's an opportunity to try and get some new ham radio operators on the air. Hi. All right, we're gonna toss it right back up to the top. VK3JED from KJ7OMO. Take it away, Tony.
Yeah, okay, Kimberly, and welcome to the new station. And yeah, I had a look at the D-Star issue, and there's no issue. I'm hearing everything going back via the reflector, just disconnected. And that's on 023 Delta. Going to disconnect. And now you hear me feeding back, so that feedback's coming back from the D-Star reflector. The only thing I can think of is that the gateway the other person's using may have very outdated information, more than a month or two old, with the old IP address. But that changed ages ago. So, yeah, it's a little bit mysterious. It's certainly working here, at least on DroidStar. Pride events, not much here because our normal local pride season is different, and a lot of people still see June as a bit of an American thing, which you know where it's come from, but it has become worldwide these days. The only thing I know of, there's been a couple of various events, but a lot of stuff that's just not really me. Yeah, I was aware of a couple of things, but yeah, generally in the evening when I'm not around, and not much is sort of fitted. Our big festivals tend to be earlier in the year, at a very inconvenient time of year, I might add too. Yeah, 3DV definitely something to play with, and the developers done some really good work in the last few weeks with the new activity monitor and the integration of that with the software itself. And the propagation, always fun. I've certainly heard FM stations from Adelaide on the Hoss radio, even drowning out the ones from Melbourne when I was in range of them. Wake up and found myself listening to Adelaide. And same with TV, I've had low band DX from Queensland, halfway up the east coast on sporadic E, and I've had high band VHF DX via Tropo, where Tasmanian TV came across the straight and drowned out the local station. So yeah, fun, but the strangest of all was on 2 metres in amongst the river red gums on the Murray River. Yeah, try that. Yeah, back again. Yeah, so weirdest propagation, 2 metres, 2 FM receivers on the same simplex frequency, around 146.5 meg. And I was literally listening to 2 different conversations on the same frequency, and they weren't heterodyning with each other. That's how weird the propagation amongst the red gums on the Murray can get. Yeah, that's probably one of the strangest I've ever heard. So yeah, propagation's always fun, and there's always something to surprise you. Anyway, I'm going to head out in a few minutes, so I'll make this my final. I'll say 7, and so it concludes my first net entirely on M17. KJ7OMO, the group VK3J.
Oh, VK3JED from KJ7OMO returning. Yeah, that is some crazy VHF propagation where you could hear 2 conversations from 2 entirely different areas going on at the same time, yet none of them could hear each other. except for whoever, of course, whoever those two stations are talking to. But yeah, that is wild. Anyways, well, you have a good rest of your day, Tony, and I shall say 7-3 to you, and thanks for stopping by and hanging out with us. All right, next up on the list is N3VEM from KJ7OMO. Take it away.
Okay, yeah, well, and continuing the fun 2-meter propagation conversation, Phoebe, not too far from where you are, I think, is the Lebanon Valley Club's repeater 147.315, and if you happen to notice that type of stuff going on, like the ducting and things like that, either on TV or the other frequencies, if you turn to the frequency of their repeater, but make sure you don't have tone squelch turned on your radio so that you hear anything on that frequency, there is actually a repeater on the same frequency, 147.315, on Stanton Island, that when there's ducting stuff going on, it comes in like crystal clear. So it was actually, when I used to travel a lot, every now and then when conditions were right and their repeater would come in over top of the 315 machine up there, I would actually go in and change my CTCSS on my radio and make a couple contacts with the folks up on Stanton Island real quick. And then when I traveled for work, I used to drive up that way, and then I'd get to chat with them a little longer. But that's kind of a fun one in our area if you notice the ducting. So just keep that logged in the memory banks if you run into that. And there was something else. Oh yes. WB0 VHF mentioned the First Lady being at the event, which reminded me, we always chuckle here that, Jill, being an educator and the stuff that she does, we're Jill fans in our house, and we often joke that we should send a letter to the White House inviting Jill to dinner, and we should say Jill +1 is invited to dinner. So that's our running joke. We tell our kids that we have to use your good manners, because if we ever have Jill +1 come for dinner, we'll want to be on our best behavior. So I think it kind of hits the couple things there. Like I said at the beginning, while we're chatting, I am still slowly poking away with KiCad, trying to learn how to use it. So I'm up to I have some holes and a couple little parts on a circuit board. So it's starting to actually look like something. Back to net, N3VEM.
Oh, N3VEM from KJ7OMO returning. Yeah, copy that. I'm gonna have to do the same thing here. If I notice that phenomenon here in my local area, then I really should start scanning around the entire 2-meter band and see what I can pick up. That would be a lot of fun. We're gonna toss it up to KC3VIU next from KJ7OMO. Take it away.
Yeah, this is KC3VIU. I was going to mention I've done, at work from New Holland, I was able to reach up to that repeater up in Lebanon, and that was pretty interesting. I'm pretty sure it's direct. I'm sure there's not likely any ducting, but I was rather surprised I could get that. But I'll have to listen in now when I get more of that. I should mention that the FM station I was listening to was remarkably clear, and wasn't. It was fairly steady. It didn't swap out a lot. There wasn't any like the picket fencing kind of thing. It was once it was. kids started doing the station ID, that's when it flipped back to the station in Philadelphia and then came back in. And I'm like, doggone it. Now I have to guess more. It was very frustrating. But that's usually the way life works like that. You, like, oh, can I get the call sign? Can I get the, oh, that fades out. And it's like, oh. So, at any rate. Hi. Yeah, I like I say, I just really, it blows my mind. That's one of the coolest things when I was hanging out with my dad's friend who's now Silent Keys. He was telling me about how he would talk to people really far away on this 2-meter rig, and with minimal power, and it's just like you get the right conditions, boy, the sky will just light up for you. So it leaves me speechless, just like there. So anyway, back to net control. This is KC3VAU, back to KJ7 LMO.
Alright, KC3BIU from KJ7 LMO returning. Yeah, copy that. Well, now you've got some more fun stuff to to play around with. Hi. Alright, we're going to toss it right back to WB0VHF from KJ7OMO. Go ahead and take that hot mic away.
Okay. I haven't had any ducting or any skip or whatnot here on things lately, but I certainly have in the past. From Twin Cities area, Minnesota, I worked a contact into Nebraska, which is many hundred miles away, with an HT, and not quite 2 meters. That was 2 meters, not quite 2 meters, but had the 6 meter FM running on 52525 one time, and talked to 2 or 3 different people from here down into Tennessee and Kentucky areas and whatnot. So, but that's the Magic Band. You know, magic happens there all the time. Well, not all the time, but it's always magical when things happen there. So, and I remember one field day, I stopped back. We had the VHF system set up in my RV, and everybody had given up on it because it was after dark. And right there, I heard a couple of stations, and here there was one person from Washington State and one person from the Atlantic coast of Canada chatting with one another. And I broke in the middle of the continent, and we were, nobody else was out there. Nobody else was thinking about being there, but the band was apparently wide open for a while on 6. Of course, that was sideband, not FM. But yeah, the magic of radio is really there, and boy, that's part of the draw of all of this to me. Is that, sometimes it's just like normal, and sometimes it's, wow, that really worked, and that worked great. So, and even after 40, how many years I've been licensed, it still is a magical experience to have that happen. So, it really works. Of course, rain scatter on 10 gig is another interesting phenomena. We'll go over that maybe sometime later here. B0 VHF.
Oh, WB0 VHF from KJ7 OMO returning. Yes, there's just nothing else quite like the magic of radio. And yeah, it's just amazing. Like when I talk to non-ham folks about the radio, most of them were like, "Oh, well, I could do that instantly on the internet, over the internet." We don't need no stinking radio. Well, we can do it on the internet. Well, let me tell you, if they lose access to internet, power, phone, and everything else, well, they'll be glad to have a radio. We'll put it that way. But yeah, the internet, sure, it gives you, worldwide communication. It gives you that instant gratification. But there's nothing magic about it anymore. The magic of the 90s internet has pretty much faded away, and now it's just a normal thing we experience all the time in our daily lives. But radio, that's a different story. It's always a magical experience where one moment you could be talking to somebody, you could be in Arizona and talking to somebody in Florida, and then the band starts shifting, and you start calling out for the station you were talking to, but you can't hear them, and then all of a sudden, somebody in Japan breaks in and says hello to you. So you start talking to the person in Japan, and then all of a sudden, an Aussie pops up and says, "Hey, I can hear you both," and then it becomes a three-way. So, yeah, it's quite the awesome experience, and it never gets old. Alrighty, we're at the bottom of the list, so who else is out there wishing to check into the net? Please come now with your call sign slowly, twice, and phonetically, and you may share your pronouns with us if you wish. This is Kilo Juliet 7, Oscar, Mike Oscar, standing by for any additional check-ins.
This is Kilo Bravo 7, Papa Sierra Tango. That is Kilo Bravo 7, Papa Sierra Tango. She, her, Alex in Beaverton, Oregon.
Alrighty, Kilo Bravo 7, Papa Sierra Tango, got you down. Welcome aboard, Alex, I think. Correct. Yeah, you can correct me on the name there, as I do have trouble with names sometimes. Alright, who else is out there wishing to check in? Please come now with your call signs slowly, twice, and phonetically. That's if I could stop this thing from transmitting, that is. Oh, here we go. Gotta love technology when things go wrong. I'll blame it on the gremlins. The gremlins tend to want to break things, especially after feeding them after midnight. That's when things really go wrong. I haven't seen that movie in ages. KB7PST, go ahead and take it. KJ7OMO.
KJ7OMO in the group, KB7PST. I think that if you got them wet, if you get the gremlins wet, then you're really in trouble. Sorry that I'm late coming into the chat tonight. My spouse works for a nonprofit, and they were working on getting some volunteers to a Seattle Sounders game to support trans kids. And there's a great picture now on the Sounders Instagram of the entire team with a Protect Trans Kids scarf. So we wanted to make sure if we could see that on the TV that we got to. My skip story, like when I was a teenager, you'll remember back in the day that like your TV, even if there was no station on Channel 3, you had something there because that's where you watched your VCR. And there was one day where I was skipping around the channels and something was coming in between Channels 2 and Channel 4, and I kind of sat there for a second and watched, and it was in a language that I wasn't familiar with, and the show wasn't something that I was familiar with, and it took me a couple minutes to realize that I was getting some sort of skipped or ducting into Mexico from Salt Lake City, Utah, or sorry, from Ogden, Utah at the time. So, yeah, I always found, like, VHF propagation particularly interesting. There's also, like, when you're talking about the rush of radio and sort of the difference between it and the internet, one of the things that kind of hooked me as a teenager is my grandfather would work satellite. Sort of this like thing that happens when you're working satellites where there's this looming silence as the satellite kind of goes over for a few minutes, and then just the sudden like slow increase. Like suddenly there's communication available with places that there wasn't before, and then at the end, like the trailing edge of like a satellite pass, you're trying to like rattle off as many contacts, usually to the East Coast, as you possibly can. Yeah, that's kind of what hooked me. I still think radio's magic. I still think there's something to be said for like parallel lines of communication, right? Like I think the internet is great and all, but like having multiple ways to get a hold of people and multiple ways to hear what's going on in your community, I think those are incredibly valuable assets, particularly for our community. KJ7OMO in the group, KB7 PST.
Oh, KB7PST from KJ7OMO returning. Yeah, copy that. That is one heck of a story that you were able to receive a Mexican station all the way from where you were. That is quite amazing. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, a little bit more details of my experience when I was a young kid in Texas. Like I mentioned that I was receiving stations from all the way from Las Vegas, and the channels that I've received were let's see, I think Channel 3, which the Channel 3 was like one moment the Channel 3 station from a nearby area would pop in, and then it would like fade back and forth between the Channel 3 station nearby and the Channel 3 station in Las Vegas, Nevada. And it just kept on fading back and forth between the two stations. And then I remembered there was also, I think, Channel 5 or 6, one of the two, that was coming in pretty good, and also a station on Channel 9 was coming in from Las Vegas. And if I remember right, I think I also saw a station from some of the from 11 and 13 as well, if I remember correctly. And yeah, that was just, I mean, back in the the late 90s as a kid, that was some very wild conditions there. I think the sporadic E was really strong, and I think maybe the solar cycle back then was also pretty dang strong as well. And I'm hoping for some similar stuff to occur on this solar cycle, because it would be interesting for me to take my little FT70D HT out and talk far away on 2 meters or something on the little HT. That would be quite the interesting experience. Alrighty, well, we're at the bottom of the list again. So before I kick it back up to the top, who else was out there wishing to check in? Alright, hearing nothing, we'll kick it right back up to N3VEM from KJ7 OMO. Take it away.
Okay, I got mildly distracted, but I think he came back to me. It is N3VEM.
Yeah, sure did. Back to you.
Good deal. Yeah. I'm getting all excited with this KiCad and circuit board layout stuff. It's I think I here this evening had a little bit of a breakthrough figuring out how pieces work and the difference between the schematic and the board layout and all that stuff. So yeah, now I'm starting to make some progress. So it's exciting. So it's probably one of those things that when I get into, I'll have to set a little alarm clock for myself at some point, because these are the types of projects that I get into, and then all of a sudden I realize that, hey, it's 2 in the morning and I have to work, so I probably should go to bed. But yeah, I think I'm okay for a while yet tonight. Yeah, earlier somebody mentioned kind of like the 90s internet, and it gave me flashbacks to the AOL CDs and like trying to get your hands on the extra like 50 free hours and stuff like that of AOL, and loading them in the machine, and all of like the fun modem noises that went along with that kind of early AOL Prodigy stuff that I guess when the internet was first commercialized, I wasn't cool enough to be big into the bulletin boards and stuff like that beforehand, so I was kind of one of the AOL and Prodigy crowd is when I got introduced to the internet. Yeah, another very off topic from anything we've talked about, but there's some folks on that might get a kick out of this. I learned something new this week, which is that when companies put ingredients on their food, if you ever happen to notice that something says natural flavors, companies are not required to disclose what the natural flavors are. And there is and I'll have to try to keep this radio clean, there is a gland under the beaver's tail which secretes a sweet stuff, goo, that is often used for flavoring in things that are like vanilla and strawberry flavored. So apparently beavers have sweet butts. So yeah, do whatever you will with that information, but that was something I learned this week that I have to share, just because I thought, who would have thunk it? So anyway, I'll kick it back to net. N3VM.
Oh, N3VEM from KJ7 OMO returning. Yes, the AOL CDs. Oh my goodness. For those of you who don't know, AOL stands for America Online, and they were the big time top dial-up internet provider at the time. And yeah, I remember they would heavily flood every single mailbox in the nation with CDs, because they really wanted people to sign up for their service and pay and all that stuff. I mean, they were just relentless, throughout the entire 90s and on into the early 2000s. They kept on sending CDs, more and more and more of them. And yeah, it was just absolutely nuts. And well, unfortunately for them, their company did not really last very long. I mean, they're still around today, but yeah, they're not doing so well. And as for the other bit of information you shared, not sure if that's real news or fake news. I'm hoping that it's fake news. I'm really hoping that it's fake info. But yeah, that's quite the interesting thing you mentioned. Anyways, KC3VIU from KJ7OMO, over to you. Oh my goodness.
This is KC3VIU. Yeah, getting some of that sweet, sweet beaver tail. I mean, oh, sorry. I don't know. Yeah, stranger things happen in this world. But anyway, yeah, I think I'm rapidly running out of steam, and there was something else I wanted to mention. I'm not sure I can remember it. Give me just one moment here. Yeah, I think that's probably about it as far as this week goes. Well, actually, there was, yeah, now I remember. So this afternoon, I went with my friend Abigail. We went down to the local mall, and so one of my friends there from the speech therapy class that I go to, and was talking with her. I figured it out, and then when I was asked to give my name for the try-on things at Tord, she heard Phoebe. Phoebe, I remember now. It was like, so, yeah, it was a great little quick reunion. She was getting some a dress for an event or something, and I mean, I'm a big girl for sure. I mean, I stand like 6'2" or something like that. She had me dwarfed by probably a good 2.5 inches. And still, it's like, it's great to see other people that you know, and it was like so completely random, and just, it was one of those things that really gets into you. It's like, oh, that's so cool. It's like such complete coincidence, and yet it's absolutely amazing. So, one of those great little things you can pick up throughout the day. At any rate, yeah, I think I'm pretty much running out of steam, and my voice is definitely shifting more towards the masculine rather than feminine. But at any rate, this is KC3VIU, clear, 33 and 73. Back to KJ7, OMO.
KC3VIU from KJ7OMO returning. Alright, Phoebe, well, 3373 to you as well, and yeah, you have a wonderful night. Thanks for hanging out with us and all that stuff, and yeah, we look forward to hearing you on the next one. Sleep well and don't let those bed bugs bite you. Alright, WB0VHF from KJ7OMO, take it away.
Okay, I'll stay away from the thoughts I had about beavers and sweet and stuff, and keep this a PG broadcast here. And what else was I going to say? I think that swamped the last couple of memory cells I've got left here. I should probably call it a night. I've got to get cleaned up. It's a very long day, a lot of sunscreen and a little heat and such. So I'm definitely not ready for the end of the day yet without a good rehumanization station stop. Some people may call those showers. It's a rehumanization station. Oh, that was the one thing, Kimberly. You've got the acronym AOL incorrect. That was almost online. At least that's what most of us called it. And yet, I never did utilize AOL. I had other ISP options, whatnot, in the early days there. After the days of the bulletin boards, which was after the days of the time sharing. I've been online in some manner probably since 1973, I think it was. So yeah, oh wow, that 50? That'll be 50 years this year. Wow. Maybe I'm giving away too much. I've been around a while. Anyway, Great chatting. I highly doubt that I'll be on next week. Next week, I believe the plan is that there's going to be 4 or 5 of us heading up to another trans friend of ours in North Dakota to celebrate her 70th birthday. And the week after that, I'll be up in Brainerd, Minnesota, timing cars for the Sports Car Club of America at their road racing event there. So may miss the next couple of them here, but I've got this on my calendar here, and we'll try to make as many of them as we can. 33 all, 73 all. Evelyn, WB0 VHF. Have a great week.
WB0 VHF from KJ7 OMO returning almost online. Yeah, that sounds about right. Another thing that people have called AOL back in the day, and I'm not sure if this is an on-air appropriate. I apologize if it isn't, but they would also call it AO Hell. My apologies if the third word there isn't appropriate. But yeah, that's another thing that they would also call it. But almost online, that definitely takes the cake right there. Alright, well, 3373 to you, and thanks for hanging out with us, and we look forward to hearing you on the next one. Yeah, up next is KB7PST from KJ7OMO. Go ahead and take that mic.
KJ7OMO and the group KB7PST. I actually had heard the thing about beaver secretions. I believe that to be actually be the case. And I've heard that the FDA is now allowing people to put xylitol on ingredient lists as, quote, birch sugar, unquote. And I know that it's causing people some anxiety because xylitol is, like, not great for pets. It's something that, like, pets should not ingest. Oh my gosh, AOL. I never had an AOL account. I started out, like, it sounds like a lot of folks here with BBSs. Not quite the time sharing. Not my time. But did start out with BBSs. My understanding is that FidoNet is still around in some form, that, like, there are still places that do message forwarding over long-distance phone lines using FidoNet to get messages and communication in places, which I think is fascinating. But yeah, never had AOL. Always got a ton of discs in the mail. Never could quite figure out an art project to do with them. Like, I think you had something like that in the mail. You couldn't really, like, reburn the discs. You couldn't really do much with them, but trying to figure out how to make an art project out of them, or I know my mom used old CDs for to scare birds away, which I thought was really clever, like as a way to keep birds out of your plants in your backyard. Sounds like a lot of folks are going to Pride. We've got Pride tomorrow here in Beaverton. Probably be getting there around 1 o'clock, trying to miss the parade and the crowds, because not doing so great around crowds of people lately. But yeah, excited. I'm glad to see that, like, despite some efforts to the contrary, that Pride's still going on and still, like, a pretty solid event. So yeah, back to net control, KJ7OMO from KB7PST.
KB7PST from KJ7OMO returning. Yeah, copy that. Pride events. Well, nothing can stop us from having our events and from existing. And from being the proud people that we are. Yeah, they could try all they want to get rid of us, but bad news for them. We're here to stay, whether they like it or not. So they better get used to it. Alright, we're at the bottom of the list, so let's see if we have any additional stations out there that would like to check in and join the conversation here on the Pride Radio Group Net or Worldwide Pride Net, however you'd like to call it. This is Kilo Juliet 7, Oscar Mike Oscar, standing by for any additional check-ins to the net. Alrighty, well, looks like everyone is starting to wind down. N3VEM from KJ7OMO, back to you.
Good deal, yeah, and I will. I'll probably wind down too, and I'll. Well, I laughed out loud when Phoebe said sweet beaver tail. So maybe it was the sweet beaver tail that started scaring everybody off. So yeah, Kimberly actually did tag you on a Mastodon post where I had kind of shared when I found that. But yeah, the reason that it came up, that I learned about it, is we. Our oldest is vegetarian, and so we try to, just be conscious about the groceries we buy and stuff, just, to make sure that for all of our meals there's at least some stuff that she can eat. And so we've been paying closer attention to, like, animal product stuff, and that's where we kind of stumbled across the information online that some of these, when they say natural flavors in a product, they don't have to disclose what that is, and that's kind of a catch, especially for people who are vegan and avoid all animal products, because sometimes the natural flavors are, secretions from a beaver, and so there are, people that try to avoid animal products that essentially can't necessarily, because there's some animal products used that the FDA doesn't require companies to disclose. So that was how we became aware of the whole product. When you read up on it, it doesn't sound like it's used a lot, but it is definitely used some. So yeah. So with that, I'll sign out, and I might make another field day contact or two before I hit the sack and go to bed for the night. So we will catch everybody another week, I'm sure. N3VEM, I'll be clear.
Alrighty, N3VEM from KJ7OMO, returning. Alright, well, thank you for hanging out with us, and I shall say my 7 threes, and we look forward to hearing you on the next one. Have a wonderful rest of your night and sleep well. Alright, KB7PST from KJ7OMO, over to you.
KB7PST. Yeah, shopping for food when you're vegetarian or vegan and trying to keep away from animal products is really tough. They slip things in places that you wouldn't expect, and yeah, I've had some vegan friends that have had a really hard time finding, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, just trying to find things to eat on a regular basis. I think it's gotten a little better over time, but I don't know that it's great. I'm starting to turn into a pumpkin myself. My eyelids are getting heavy, and I want to make sure that I've got energy for tomorrow, so I think I'm going to head off as well. 33 and 73 all around. KB7 TST, I'll be clear.
Alright, KB7PST from KJ7OMO returning. Alright, well, 3373 to you as well. You have a good night. Thank you for hanging out with us, and yeah, we look forward to hearing you again on the next next time. Have a good night. Alright, before I shut things down, do we have any additional, real quick check-ins, in and out only? Come now with your call sign slowly, twice, and phonetically. Alrighty, do we have any final comments from anybody before I shut things down? Alrighty, the following was generated by ChatGPT. That concludes our net for today. Thank you all for participating and bringing fun to the airwaves. I would like to express gratitude to the Waverly Amateur Radio Society in Sydney for allowing us to use their systems to relay this net. Thanks, special thanks to VK3JED and VK2WAY for their contributions, as well as the entire Pride Radio group for making this net possible. I now release all frequencies, repeaters, and other systems back to their regular amateur use. Thank you once again, and 7-3 to everyone from Kilo Juliet 7, Oscar, Mike Oscar. Alrighty, YouTubers, I'm gonna end it right here. Be sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell, and we'll catch you on the next one. 7-3, everybody, from Kilo Juliet 7, Oscar, Mike Oscar.